Hey guys, welcome back to Vince-Vell Custom. We're going to do a repair today, and this is actually kind of a little bit difficult. As you can see, this is a Link statue from Legend of Zelda. I'll show you the statue in a second. But we have a breakage here, and we have a breakage here. Now, if I try to bend this back, I'm going to probably break up all this, and it just becomes more of a headache. So I have to actually leave this alone. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill in here, I'm going to drill around here and set that up. And then also, we have a breakage here that was already glued, but I have to kind of fix all this up as well. So what it is, as you can see, they have these holes here in the hands, and what it does is it goes into this Link statue here. Now, I guess what happened is these didn't line up correctly, so I guess they were forced in somehow, and it just all broke. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to recreate these holes again once I set this all up and get this secured, because at this point there's just no way of actually lining this back up, because there is a metal rod in here, but any way of trying to bend this back, it's just going to create more of a breakage, and there's just nothing I could do about it without having like to redo the whole entire thing, which would just be way too much work. What I think I'm going to do is I'll reset these holes once I get all this repaired, and I think I'm going to throw a tiny magnet at the end of this one and a tiny magnet at the end of this one, so this way when they go in there, if this is a little bit loose, at least it's going to connect it and it's going to stay in, because right now it goes in but it's still a little loose and it's just kind of messed up. So the step right now is I'm going to do some drilling in here and here, do some drilling over in here, and just get all this stuff ready for some eaves patching. The tip is actually also broke as well. I have to actually fix up the tip, and then I got to kind of match up the paint a little bit. But it's just this is just one of those projects where there's nothing you can do because of the way the metal rod's in there, and any type of bending and warping is just going to create more of a mess and more issues. So it's just nothing I could do about it. So I'm just going to have to do the best I can and get it repaired, so at least it sits up there a little bit better. So let's get drilled in some areas. We'll come back and we'll start patching it. Alright guys, so I did my drilling. Now, as I was drilling it here, it started breaking up, and it was actually a little room to actually straighten this out a little bit. So, what I decided to do was kind of bend it a little bit and straighten it out a little bit with a hairdryer, but just going slow because I really didn't want to break it all up. So, what I did here was, as you can see, I drilled in a little bit areas there and areas over there for a metal rod to go in each place. So what I'm going to do is, this rod might be too thick, but I might have to get a thinner one. I mixed up some magic sculpt, but that's pretty much all I needed. Probably that's even too much. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to put a metal rod in there with some glue, just to get the rod in there, and then I put some magic sculpt in there, but not filling all the magic sculpt up, just a little bit just to secure it, because I want to use eaves to do all my detailing, because eaves is a little bit easier to sand and fill. And then what I'm going to do with this area here is use magic sculpt to kind of fill in areas, just to kind of fill it in but not do detailing. This just lets me secure it, because magic sculpt is harder, and then I'll come back the next day and work all that out. I just want to make sure before I do anything that these are lined up. So what I'm going to probably do is drill out the hole bigger here, the hole bigger here, make sure that this lines up with the hands since I straightened it a little bit. And if that's all good, we'll just start filling it in and let that sit overnight, come back the next day, and then start doing all the detailing work. And then if everything's all set up, work out the holes here, and then repair the tip on this, and then get it onto the statue and go from there. Alright, I tried my best to hold it in front of the camera while I did it, but after I took off the camera, I kind of fixed it up a little bit more. So, I had to thicken it up a little bit because there's no choice, and I had to actually bend it back to actually these two pieces to be, you know, working with the body. But right now, I'm going to let this sit overnight, as you can see. What I'll do is I'll come back with Aves the next day, and I could kind of thicken this up a little bit to kind of make it look a little bit straighter. I got no choice in the matter. It's just one of these breakages where you got to kind of just build it up a little bit and make it more secured and just run with it. Now, I did it very messy because I knew I was going to have to touch all this up anyway because I just got no choice. But as you saw here, I put in the metal rods with some glue, and then I used the magic sculpt to fill it in. I'll come back tomorrow with some A's and just make it smooth, and then I can sand it all down. I'll probably do a little bit of a chipping in between here where the middle was glued, and also over here as well with the A's to kind of give it that staple look. And then once that's all done, I have the sandpaper. It's like this little flat thing I found at the hobby store. I have another one. I don't know where it is, but this will help me to go in between here and kind of make this like, you know, this sides all like straight. So it's just a little process. It's kind of a pain, but you know, as you can see, the magic scope was a little bit too much that I mixed up, but you know, that's just the way it is. So come back. We'll fix those up. You know, tomorrow with some of the A's. We'll do the, and then go from there. We'll do the tip on here. Might do the tip last once I get these things all lined up. As you can see, I drilled them out a little bit more. I got to make sure I can fit a little magnet in there and get them in, because looking at the pins on the statue, what they did is they just used some metal rods, and they didn't really, like, it's not cleaned or bent, so it's just, it's really kind of one of these items that's a real mess. But I got to do the best I can to make it work, and we're just going to keep plugging away on it. So we'll be back tomorrow with some more patches. Okay, guys, so it's the next day, all set, and what I did is I mixed up some Fix-It sculpt. This is Abe's epoxy sculpt, but they have stuff called Fix-It, and Fix-It is like, it more like when you sculpt, it really doesn't like sag down like the other Aves does. So it's kind of like pretty cool once it starts to harden up a little bit. It doesn't do a lot. Plus it's the white, and it works out pretty good for me. So mixed up a little bit of it, and I'm going to seal up this. And then I'm going to do some detailing work in here and around in here and kind of clean this up a little bit. This I'll have to do off camera because I got to get in closer to do all this. But basically all you really need to do here is take some of this, the safety solvent that Aves has, put in your finger, and then you can just sort of smush it on, kind of even it out. I'm going to be sanding this down anyway, so I don't, usually I kind of build bigger on this a little bit. It smooths it out, and it just makes life a little easier. But you know, simple tools to sand down when you're done. You know, any kind of emery boards like this make life easier because you can get that angle on it than trying to do it with like sandpaper. So it's just a matter of filling this in. Now with the, I've said this before on other videos, but for this one I'll say it again. When you put this Aves on, you can paint directly onto it and paint sticks to it. It's not like you need to really prime this stuff. If you're going to show like a lot of resin, then maybe you want to find some kind of paint that would actually, like maybe a little bit of a primer through an airbrush, because they do make some of those. So it's just a matter of kind of getting it built up and secured. But we have to do some sanding and stuff. So, but I like to make sure, you know, it's kind of built up. So as you can kind of see. So then we'll do this side. I know a lot of people say you shouldn't be sticking your fingers in the safety solvent and stuff, but you know, maybe use gloves, or if you know, if you guys are sensitive, you know, you could just use the brushes. I just don't care. It's just my preference. Screw it. Like I said, this is built up. It's a little bit raised, but it's going to be all sanded down just like if you were filing like a knife or something, or I'll just be doing stuff like this, getting it all nice and even, and just want to make sure you fill in every little crevice. You want to hit areas. Alright, so that's what I did for those parts there. We're gonna let that sit overnight again, and then come back the next day and start doing all the sanding. But off camera, I'm gonna have to get in closer and start building this up, because I can't do this and all that. But it's giving you the idea what's going on. So I'll finish getting this done, and we'll be back when ready to start sanding it all up. Okay guys, so what I did is I had a chance today to sand this all up. Now there could be some errors in here that I'm not seeing. What's going to be good is when I get a chance, I'll just use some chrome silver paint and I'll paint this up, and that'll help me find any errors that I need to sand or anything that I'm missing. But right now I want to get the tip done. Now basically I was going to throw a metal pin in here and have it sticking up, but the problem is if I do the pin too far and then I go to sand down, I hit the pin. And since it's not really a huge break, what I did was I drilled in so the magic sculpt would actually be in here, and then I can sand it down and it works out. So if it was broken down here, I would say yeah, I need a longer pin, but since it's kind of almost right there, I don't need to worry about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill that in. We'll come back after that's pretty much all dried up the next day or so and sand it down, and then we'll just start we'll finding all the errors in here and stuff. But I also have to start working out these pieces in here. So I think what I might try to do is start lining it up with magnets, seeing how far it has to go in, and then go from there. It's going to be a little bit of a pain, but we'll see what happens. Okay guys, we're back and we're going to do some more magic sculpt work and with some magnets. So what I did right here, as you can see, it's all sanded up. Now there might still be some errors in here that I can't see. I'm going to use some chrome silver paint and paint this. It's going to be like kind of acting like a primer, finding errors, and then it'll be work good to paint all this up. So what I did also here is the tip on this piece, I drilled it in a little bit, and what I'm going to do is shove the magic sculpt in there and work out the tip on it. If I was to put a metal pin up high, the problem is when I go to sand it down, I might hit it. So since the tip isn't really going that far, I just made it work that I can put it in here and sand it down. If it was broken like here and I had to rebuild all that, that's different. Then you would need a pin. But with this little tip piece, it won't be a big deal. So what I also did was I drilled out these holes in here a little bit bigger, but I made a mistake, of course. I drilled through this piece a little bit. But that's not a problem though, because it's going to be all patched up anyway. So what I do now is on here I have these magnets, and these magnets doesn't matter which way I put these magnets in here, because this is a metal rod, so it's going to connect it either way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some magic sculpt, I'm going to put the magnet in there, and then I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to seal it up a little bit. So the magnet isn't actually going to touch these metal rods, but it's going to actually be able to hold the hands in better when I work out the new holes in here with the magic sculpt, but once it's set. So it's kind of like just giving it that extra grab so it goes in case I need to loosen it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just get all this done, and we'll be back when I'm ready to start working out the pins in here, because it's just a matter of just putting on magic sculpt and making it look messy until I sand it. So we'll be back with that.